First off, Daniel, did I pronounce your surname correctly?
Yeah, Reurich or Reurich. I'm good
Nice.
with that.
So, do you mind, Daniel, could we just start with a little bit of your history? Where have you come from? Where were you brought up?
I was born in Hastings. Uh, yeah, moved to. My father was a minister for the Reformed Church in Hastings when I was born. Later on, moved to Tokoroa, and then Waihi, where I went through secondary school, and after that, studied at mechanical engineering (NZCE) at Waikato Polytech. It was called then. I think now they call it Waikato Technical Institute.
What were you
And
studying at Polytech?
New Zealand Certificate in Engineering.
Ah,
Um, so I have a mechanical engineering background. I'm one
wow.
of those guys that kind of fixes everything. I was working on car engines before I could drive.
Oh, yes, one of
Although,
those.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
to tinker around with things, eh?
absolutely.
That's the one. And so after Polytech, what was your next step in life?
I worked in mechanical engineering for about 7 years as a bit of turner, bit of welder, general engineer, uh, sort of thing. Never actually completed my well, I completed all the coursework component for NZC, but I never actually completed the certificate itself because of the work experience component. I just couldn't get the work experience in the time that it was available. But functionally, I did all the work for that. After in 2000, I got married to my wife Fiona, and as part of that, I sort of dissatisfied with where the engineering industry was going. So I flipped over to my other kind of hobby at that stage into IT and computers. I always, again, it was one of those things that I tinkered with and I just knew how to do. And so I flipped, got very much involved in open source software, um, and from there, sort of went to work for myself, doing Linux and open source software as well as general Windows desktop support and so forth. Just servicing mostly residential customers and home businesses, small businesses.
Nice. So how would you describe yourself, Daniel? Would it be a computer tech
Yeah,
with a wonderful family?
I'm a technologist. I can describe myself more as a problem solver, and that kind of leads into the council thing. Um, I really, I'm an ideas guy. I'm a problem solver. I'm one of those people that kind of has a fairly broad knowledge about a lot of areas,
Mhm.
and specialise in certain things when I need to and where I need to.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're a think on your toes kind of person?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. So what led you to go down the council path? Have you had a background or experience in that area?
No, this is my well. Actually, I did get involved in New Conservative during the 2020 election campaign at the beginning of 2020, and sort of one thing led to another, and I ended up actually standing as a paper candidate for New Conservative in Jacinda Ardern's electorate in Mount Albert.
Oh.
I never
Could
actually
you,
visited.
sorry to interrupt, but could you just explain what paper candidate means?
Basically, my name was put on the ballot because the New Conservative decided that at that stage they wanted to have a candidate in every electorate, and it was actually more of a strategic move than anything, because when a candidate was listed with a party, those parties would be at the top of the ballot, and then the independent candidates or the parties that had a candidate that didn't have a candidate were listed lower down the ballot paper. So it was just about moving the prominence of the party up in the ballot paper. Was the real basis for that. So I'd had involvement with New Conservative. I'd put my hand up to be a candidate for our local electorate, but sort of that didn't quite work out, and in the end, they had somebody that they thought was better, and I was fine with that. I was actually involved in two electorate committees, both Rimataka, where we currently live, and also Hutt South, supporting Roger Reurich, who was a fantastic candidate for Hutt South. So sort of being a paper candidate was almost as fun. And I had a lot of involvement in New Conservatives' social media, particularly their Facebook page. Not posting stuff, just moderating and doing a bit of answering direct messages and stuff. And I really fell in love with actually the communications that online sort of text-based communications. I really enjoyed that part of the process.
Oh, nice. So you've talked about your history with New Conservative. What made you get involved in council this year for these elections?
Now, here in the Hutt Valley, we've got our current council is led by a Labor Party mayor. He's running as a Labor Party mayor. He ran it last time as a Labor Party mayor. And there are a number of things that went with that. Our council appears to be financially out of control. They're spending up large, doing a lot of vanity projects. Not to say that the previous council weren't, but this council seemed to throw caution to the wind with respect to spending ratepayers' money on a lot of their stuff. And also significantly consequential issues like the housing intensification has come across, and the council's not pushed back very hard on that. And Three Waters, we have no consultation whatsoever. The council haven't talked to us about it. And it was just a real disquiet about sort of the direction of things were going. And it's like, well, okay, if we're going to help resolve these issues, we need to be represented. And I felt that there were no other candidates that were saying that they were going to run that sounded like they were really going to represent people that love freedom, people of more conservative perspective, such as myself, along with sort of having a number of people kind of shoulder tap me and say, oh, you should run for council. Already months ago. So yeah.
And it's not an easy feat to take on. There's a lot of paperwork and public public, what do you call, addressing the public time. So it's not something you could consider lightly. It must have been a real sort of big decision for you to make as a family, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Quite challenging. Fiona was kind of very sort of, especially after sort of the New Conservative campaign, and the amount of time that took up. Fiona was kind of like, we can't, can we afford to go down that path? Is that really what needs, what you want to do? And it ended up being sort of a decision that was finalised very late in the piece. I hummed and hawed quite a bit over it, knowing full well, and especially with having been at the parliamentary protest and being involved in Voices for Freedom, and already the rhetoric that was being rolled out by our mainstream media about that, it was obvious that there was going to be a certain amount of negative press that was going to come along with those associations too. So,
have you been subjected to any of those hit pieces in your local region?
Absolutely. I made the Dominion Post. There was an article. Stuff Media published that article on reasonably prominently on their website.
Stuff, of course.
And Stuff Media also run our local newspaper, the Hutt News. where I featured on the front page. With a great
Oh,
big
you
campaign.
lucky thing!
Yeah,
Oh, well, everyone will know your face, hopefully.
yeah, yeah. It was kind of a sad thing. We got questioned by Hutt News. Sort of
Mm,
myself. There's 5 other candidates. Sort of which I would broadly call freedom candidates. That I'm actually campaigning with. We're all independent. We haven't agreed to any specific position policies, but we have said we've got a list of our policies that we have uh, uh, kind of agreed as our broad basis, for working together.
yeah,
We've got a flyer which has uh, got all 5. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see that. I recognise Curry there.
Yeah, all 5 candidates are listed on with our policy base. Let's see if I can get that.
Very lucky. Oh my goodness. So you mentioned a couple of issues facing council at the moment. You mentioned Three Waters, you mentioned housing. I'm just wondering, in your opinion, what would be the top 2 most important things facing council in your local area at the moment?
In our local area, for council, the top 2 things are definitely infrastructure. Water infrastructure is part of that, but there is, just as much trouble with respect to poor maintenance of our roads. We've got potholes, and that seems to be a recurring theme around the country.
Yes,
Um,
we've got a bit of backstory to that, don't we?
yeah, yeah,
But we won't go there.
and
That's a whole nother can of worms.
yeah, and the other thing is the housing intensification seems to be at least for a lot of the residences, the hot button issue. We've in my discussions with people at the markets and those that I've talked to, the housing intensification legislation or policies that are being pushed from central government down, and for the Hutt Valley here, that basically means the only part Hutt Valley is the Western Hills. They get a reprieve because it's too difficult to do housing intensification there.
Hmm.
But for the rest of the Hutt Valley, the government wants us to be building 6-story complexes with no parking, no requirements for parking,
Oh.
for off-street
Hmm.
parking, and sort of because they expect that we're going to have a 30,000. I think we've got 120 something thousand people living in Hutt City Council's jurisdiction, and they're expecting that to increase by 30,000 over the next 10 years.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so they're saying that, and I agree that there's going to be a certain amount of housing intensification, but that has to be very, very well managed, and currently it's not. Um,
So, how you as a person, how do you plan on addressing issues like this if you are elected, if you're successful?
my first policy point is that it has to be local, real democracy. So proper consultation. I would really
Mm.
like to see the council actually go and hold their council meetings where they're dealing with issues for a particular suburb in that suburb in their community.
Yes, absolutely. Decrease the barriers for accessibility for those in the
Yeah,
area who it's going to affect. I 100% agree. That's very good thought there, Daniel. And you mentioned, you've mentioned how you would face that. What about the water infrastructure you were talking about?
so the water infrastructure, here in Wellington, in the Wellington region, we've got Wellington Water, and they provide the core water infrastructure, which covers Upper Hutt, Lower Hutt, Aotearoa, and Wellington City.
Hmm.
And most of that is collected up in above Upper Hutt through Aotearoa, but also we have the artesian water source, big pumping station in Waterloo, and a couple of smaller catchments as well. So that's so we already have a relatively large organisation that is managing our water on behalf of the 4 councils. And up until about 3 or 4 years ago, that appeared to be in pretty reasonable condition. After the 2016 earthquake, there had been right across the region, particularly Lower Hutt and Wellington City, there was a bit of problem with pipes and leaks and stuff, and most of that had been resolved, at least for Lower Hutt. Wellington City has had more trouble with that, and ongoing problems with broken pipes and leaks and stuff.
Mm.
And as a consequence, we do have the situation where apparently 17% of our water is leaking away.
Oh.
From, that's being stated as a general statement. I don't know for sure whether that's across the 4 councils reticulation schemes or whether that's Hutt Valley specific. We know that from the reporters that leak fixing in the Hutt Valley is 9 months behind schedule. So it's taking them 9 months to typically get to fixing the smaller leaks, that they know about, without actually having to go out and sort of try and figure out where, sort of the more hidden leaks are. So there are issues there certainly, infrastructure-wise. But one of my concerns is that we're being played a little bit. That under the setup for Three Waters legislation, that there's a potential that our water authority, Wellington Water, and the regional council have been sort of deferring some of the spending or just sort of reclassifying things in order to make it sound like the situation is worse than it is. I don't know that for sure, but my concern is sufficient that I'd like to see some independent audits of our infrastructure so we actually know where we're at, rather than sort of have it just be sort of those that are paying with some potential benefits to be able to say, oh well, we can either it's just as simple as them wanting to hand off the responsibility for funding the infrastructure to central government and whatever arrangement central government sets up in terms of the 4 water authorities, or whether there's potential benefits in terms of the money flow for those that are in the director's seat for Wellington Water. I don't know. But it is a question that I have. It's particularly having talked to a couple of industrial plumbers and some people that have been working significantly within Hutt City Council on the infrastructure side of things in the past. Sort of indicating that things are not 100% what has been sort of put out in terms of the public reports.
Well, you sound very knowledgeable on the topic, so I can say I definitely feel a bit confident in you as a council candidate. You certainly seem to know your facts and where you're coming from. It's obviously not a new thing to you, which is awesome to hear. I'm just wondering now about you must have had a few Meet the Candidate events recently. I was wondering if you'd like to share any particular highs or lows that you've experienced from those meetings. Any interesting questions thrown around? Anything at all? How have they gone?
They've been interesting. Some of them have been relatively brief. We've got for the ward that I'm running for. It's a city at large ward, so there's 6 seats up available, and there's 23 candidates running. So it's a pretty good number of candidates.
That is good.
So we recently did It's in the Ballot, which is a kind of gamified version of of the Meet the Candidates, which was live streamed, as well as with an in studio audience or in hall audience, and that was interesting. They did that over 2 nights, so they split the group up in half.
Mm.
And that was on this past Monday. I'll send you a link so you can have a bit of a
Yeah, it
look.
sounds like a bit of fun.
And that was interesting. And the question that I got there was, were you at the Parliament protest?
Of course.
And and this was just picked out of the box. So we
Oh,
selected a
cool.
box with questions. It
Yeah.
was one of the questions that we knew about, so they gave us a list of the questions so we could formulate decent answers. So I was asked whether I was at Parliament and what I thought about that now.
And what was your
And
response?
so my response was, I absolutely loved Parliament. It was a fantastic, uh, and a historic moment for New
Absolutely.
Zealand. It really was.
I agree.
I was there to help with delivering food and provide support in various ways to those that were organising aspects of the food system and other stuff. And just doing what I could. My children, my two older daughters were there, often helping in food, either food HQ or in the stores, or even sort of up in the food tent on Molesworth Street, serving food.
Mm.
So it was a real opportunity for them to uh, experience something. And they were there, sort of really to fill in the gap because we decided that this year we're going to homeschool. You know,
Beautiful.
yeah,
I'm so relieved to hear that.
late in the piece because of the mask mandates. It was just, yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Another can of worms.
yeah,
And I can say that I have met your beautiful wife Fiona, and I have met your three wonderful children. Um,
four.
sorry, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I forgot about the youngest one.
Yeah,
Young boy, I'm so sorry, honey. But yeah, you have the most beautiful family, my friend. You are so blessed. You should be really proud of that wonderful and that beautiful home you have. Well done. And I think it's an amazing thing that you're running for council. You're quite in sorry, I was going to say assertive. You're quite an assertive, confident. You come across quite friendly, quite social, quite well. And I wish you all the best of luck for this council election. So, guys at home, the elections are currently underway. You can go and make a council vote now if you choose to. But I think the official vote date is the 8th of October. Is that right?
yeah. The poll officially closes on the 8th of October. Postal votes have to be in by the 3rd of October for them to be guaranteed to be counted.
Yeah.
My suggestion is also, and we're hearing around the country reports that uh, some people haven't got their voting papers yet. If you're anywhere in the country, if you haven't got your voting papers by now, you need to be reaching out to your returning officer at the local council and asking them about it, asking whether it was actually sent,
Mm.
and considering doing a special vote in order to make sure that your vote counts.
Yes,
And
and I can attest to this. I actually went into the council last week. Obviously, I'm in my bus, so I don't receive postal mail. So I just popped into my local council here in Gisborne, and I was able to put through a special vote, and it was a really easy process. So, guys at home, if you haven't got your voting papers, do just pop into your local council. It is easy. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
And if you're in the Hutt Valley, tick the box, vote for Daniel Reurich for city at large. I can also suggest voting for Simon Gibbs, also running for city at large and for Potomac Community Board. Carrie Lloyd, who you interviewed the other week,
Yes.
and Mark Atkin, all fantastic candidates. And there's also for Greater Wellington Regional Council
Mm.
for the Hutt Valley representation is Tracy Buick, and there's another another freedom candidate that I would, or man that I would call a freedom candidate, Michael Stevenson is also running for Greater Wellington Regional Council.
Thank you. I really appreciate that information. I just had a question in my mind. What was it? I was just about to ask you. No, sorry, it left my brain. Brain, lack of functioning, need more coffee. But no, I think that's about it from me. I don't have any further questions. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we end this?
Yeah, for me, the real big issue is getting better representation. Giving our local people real engagement, real consultation, not leading them by the hand down a predetermined path. We need to be asking the question: what do you want? What do you need? And how are we going to deliver these things? How are we going to deliver our services? We've recently went through a process whereby the council came up with a plan for dealing with our rubbish, our waste collection, and that turned into a bit of a fiasco. They say that the system is fantastic and 80% of people are saving money on it. But I don't. I hear plenty of people still saying that that it doesn't work for them. For us, we went from putting out one bag every 2 weeks of rubbish, and lots of recycling, to having a bin which would allow us to put about 8 times as much rubbish in, costing us
Wow.
3 times, 4 times as much as we would normally pay
Oh my
for a
goodness.
one rubbish bag every fortnight. Because we compost as much as we can.
Yeah.
We burn a bit of stuff in winter with the fireplace as well. Clean stuff, nothing that's going to sort of cause any pollution issues. And it's like, well, we like to do our bit to look after the environment.
Yeah, it sounds to me like not only are you quite aware of local issues going on, but you're also very aware of issues relating to our world, everything, which is awesome. Now, I just remembered that question I was going to ask you. I was just going to ask if you were familiar with the current legislation changes up for public submission through Parliament, and if so, are there any that particularly stand out to you as concern?
Actually, I watched your post the other day about some of those submissions, current submissions that are being called for. The coroner's one certainly seems to be a bit of a concern. I haven't fully dug into that yet, but perception is that this could be a way for the government to avoid accountability for their decisions with respect to the COVID vaccine. You know, um, and potentially other things that are going on within the healthcare system and their failures to do what's best for New Zealanders and give New Zealanders actually decent choice about what kind of healthcare they want.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, are you referring to the Coroner's Amendment Bill? I think, yeah, a bit of concern there for sure. Don't know
Yeah.
what their sort of background or fine print is going to be there, so it's a little bit of a worry. And just a reminder for those at home, I think there's only a few days left to make a public submission, which DSOS have provided a template. If anyone wants to use it, there is a link on my page. But yeah, sorry, I thought I'd just plug that in there while we're talking about it. And what do you have planned for the rest of your day there? Are you a busy person, I assume?
Yeah, I've got another meet the candidates tonight, and yeah, I must say I've actually really enjoyed that process. We actually had a meet the candidates meeting with young the Freedom and Rights Coalition,
Yeah.
which is sort of youth from those within the Freedom and Rights Coalition, Destiny Church, who are involved in a number of youth-led programs for reaching out to other youth.
Mm-hmm.
And that engagement was actually really fantastic. We had a good turnout from candidates from across the spectrum. Actually, I was happy
Awesome.
to, and it was just a wonderful night. So,
Oh, that's
you know,
great.
engaging with them. I had associations with Youth for Christ in the past as well. So, doing a bit of youth work and particularly being involved in big event stuff like what used to be Capital 10 Convention, and where we get youth from all over the country down to Wellington to on Queen's birthday weekend and have a big party in the Michael Fowler Centre.
Oh,
Which was
sounds good.
huge fun, huge fun.
Oh, awesome. You just mentioned you have a Meet the Candidates event on tonight. For those at home interested, can we have some more details on that?
The Meet the Candidates event is in Jackson Street. It's in Petone. I think it starts at 7 p.m. Might be 7:30. Let me see if I can find the information.
And if you have any other upcoming Meet the Candidate events that you would like to list off, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's the last big one. There are a couple of little smaller ones.
Yeah.
We go just trying to election events. So 6:30 p.m. at the Petone Rugby Club in Udi Street, Petone.
Wonderful.
Hosted by the Jackson Street program and the Hutt Multicultural Council. So,
Jackson Street, did you say?
Jackson Street program.
Oh, it's a sign. It's a great street. It's going to be a good event.
Yeah, Jackson Street is the main street in Petone. Now, Petone once was its own council. Interestingly enough, and was later merged into Hutt City Council in the. I can't remember where it was. It was before my time in the Hutt Valley.
No worries.
Yeah, so they have, as a consequence, they have a local board elections, as well as a candidate, a harbour ward candidate for city council. So I'm looking forward to that. It's always a great meeting, and I expect actually it's going to be a pretty good turnout.
Lovely. So, well, all the best for tonight. I hope it goes really well. I'm sure you'll have a few interesting questions thrown at you again, because that's just the way it goes, isn't it? Got to keep you on your toes. But hey, thank you for making time to chat with me today. I really, really appreciate it, and I sincerely wish you all the best with the sea, Daniel.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and really loving your channel and all the kōrero that you're having with people from across our wonderful nation.
Thank you. All right. Ka kite. See you. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.